Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys have been doing well. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a GameFi project that's been touted as the Super Smash Bros. Of the GameFi space. And I actually wrote a little bit about this project in a recent newsletter. And in that newsletter, not only do I cover GameFi, but I also talk about DeFi protocols and narratives that I'm interested in. I cover a little bit of macro, and I also dabble in a little bit of technical analysis just to give you guys a sense of where I think the market is headed. So if any of that intrigues or interests you, make sure you guys click the link in the description below and enter your email address. But unlike that short write-up, this video is intended to be more comprehensive. I'm going to go over the game mechanics, we'll speak about the tokenomics, which in my view is super important. We all want to know how much the early investors paid and who are the participants in the seed round. And the cool thing about GameFi is that the foundation that's underpinning it and what I think makes it possible are DeFi primitives. So in the staking and liquidity provision section, I'll go over ways you guys can earn yield on the in-game tokens if you guys decide to purchase them. In the section after that, I'll share with you guys how you can go ahead and get exposure to the game, assuming you think the game has a lot of upside and you're looking to allocate some of your portfolio to it. And in the last section, I'll share my personal thoughts and let you know if I think the game has potential, and you'll learn whether I've invested or decided not to invest in the project. And before we dive into the video, if you're really interested in GameFi Alpha and you want to be a part of a larger community of like-minded individuals who are also seeking investment opportunities in GameFi or play-to-earn opportunities in GameFi, in that case, it would be awesome if you guys decided to join my community by clicking the Discord link in the description below. Now, with the intro out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this video. All right, to begin, let's give you guys a quick intro. Galaxy Fight Club wants to be known as the first cross-IP PvP game for the NFT universe. And because of that, it's oftentimes referred to as the Super Smash Bros. Of the GameFi space. And cross-IP basically means that all the NFTs belonging to partnering projects can be brought to life in the game. So if you own a CyberKongz NFT, you can actually use that character to play this game. And even before the game launches, they've already partnered with high-profile projects like CyberKongz, Illuvium, BYO Pills, and many others. And on top of that, they have their own Genesis Galaxy Fighter collection. And this collection, unlike the other NFTs, actually earns users 5 to 15 G coins. And G coin, by the way, is the in-game currency, which I'll go into more detail in the upcoming segment. They're also going to implement play-to-earn mechanics that should go live in the next couple weeks. These mechanics involve users fighting other players in the game, accumulating loot boxes and items to upgrade weapons, and these weapons can later be sold on the open market. So there's actually a few ways for you guys to earn G coins by playing the game. All right, in this segment, we'll be covering the gameplay and the mechanics. So to play the game, everybody can participate. If you don't have an avatar or NFT, one will be provided to you. But the avatar does make a difference in the game. Depending on which avatar you start with or you're using, you'll get a different type of loot or reward in the game. So there's actually a few ways to get involved. You can play as a fighter. You can level up your weapon and account by progressing through the game. You can play as a manager by buying some NFTs and renting them out. You can play as a crafter/trainer, somebody who studies the game to forge the best weapons and train the strongest second generation fighters, presumably to sell on the secondary market for profits. Or you could play as a scholar, perhaps being part of a guild and renting out fighters that will help you earn items that you can later sell to cover the cost of renting and also to pocket some profits and maybe even level up your account. And so they're hoping that the growth engine will lead to more players playing the game. That hopefully will produce network effects, which will lead to more in-game purchases. That should result in a G coin price going up, which means more people entering the ecosystem because the earning potential has gone up. Now to begin it, they're only going to have 3 game modes, with Battle Royale coming out at a later date. 3 versus 3, anybody can play. The rewards you're going to earn are loot box keys. You'll have tournaments, but you can only use Galaxy Fighters in the tournament, and the rewards include G-Coin and Ethereum. They also have 1 versus 1. Anybody can play, but no rewards are going to be available for that. Now, to demonstrate how the in-game mechanics work, I'm going to play a clip from a YouTube video published by the official Galaxy Fight Club YouTube channel.
All right, now let's show you some game modes by hitting the battle button on the bottom right hand side of the screen. So training mode is where you can test out your weapons. Solo is where you can battle 1v1, and team is a 3v3 mode where, in my opinion, is where the most excitement happens. And yes, the team have announced that more game modes are coming, including matchmaking, where you can grab your teammates and play against other teams. So I'll load up a training game now to show you the game controls. They're pretty straightforward. So you move with your left thumb on the screen, you tap your right thumb on the fire icon to fire or to swing. The button above the fire button is your ability, which varies from weapon to weapon, and the button to the left of the fire button is an ultimate attack, again, which varies from weapon to weapon.
Now, they designed the game to make sure that two main factors determine the outcome of the battles. Number one includes the overall quality and strength of your fighter. Number two is skill. And basically, the motivation for this is that they don't want the rarest fighters to have an insurmountable lead. They want skill to be involved in the outcome of the match. Now, in terms of the battle arenas, they've decided to go with the cyberpunk theme, and in some cases, they'll also have obstacles on the map. I'm guessing for Battle Royale, you'll definitely see something like this. Now, there's three factors that determine the overall strength of your fighter. 25% clothes, 25% weapon, 50%. And as a general rule, the stats of a race, armor, or weapon is closely related to their rarity, which means a rare race with a rarer weapon will almost always be stronger than one that is more common. Now, in terms of leveling up, there's two main progression systems. Number one, ranking through trophies. Number two is leveling via experience points. Both progression systems are account based, which means they are bound to your accounts instead of your NFTs. Personally, I believe they should also give permanent benefits to the NFT, because even though the people who bought the NFTs and that are renting them out, they're taking a more passive approach, it's another way to accrue more value to these NFTs long term. And it'll be a stronger motivation for people to put these NFTs to productive use versus them just sitting idle in wallets. Now, in terms of the ranking system, you can rank between 1 and 40, and this is determined by your trophy number. A lower trophy count will put you in a lower rank and vice versa. And the higher rank allows you to enjoy a higher drop chance of gold keys and silver keys. And ranking is also bounded to your account. The NFT leveling system, you can level between 1 and 40, and it's determined by the experience points. It gets progressively harder to advance to the next level as you advance, requiring more experience points. And as you level up, you'll be able to unlock special rewards in their level rewards program. This includes display icons, cosmetics, weapons, special character emojis, emotes, and others. And what I think is pretty lame is that the experience points and level is tied to your account, and these in-game rewards are also fixed to the account and cannot be sold or transferred as NFTs. Moving along, now we're going to cover the tokenomics. So the in-game currency is Gcoin. You can purchase it on an exchange like Gate.io, or you can purchase it on a DEX like Uniswap or SushiSwap. But remember, even though the NFTs are deployed on Ethereum, the token itself was deployed on Polygon. The thought being, since there's going to be a lot more transactions with the token versus the NFTs, using Polygon would save users fees. But coming back to the focus of this segment, tokenomics, they want the token to be highly consumptive. So in the game, you're going to need the token to forge weapons, for weapon rerolls, unlocking loot boxes. You're going to need them for training second generation fighters, exclusive collab items and skins, and in-game emoji packs. And the overall goal is basically to have the token accrue value as the ecosystem grows and the user base expands. The supply limit is 150 million tokens, which should take 3 years to be fully in circulation. And by then, the deflationary mechanics should be in place. In the first week, they only had 3.4 million G coins in circulation from the IDO. And on a side note, typically, whenever you have an IDO or you have a DeFi protocol emitting tokens, initially the supply or the float is very low, and so the price will go up very quickly. But as the tokens get emitted, as more tokens get released for various reasons, inevitably you see a huge drawdown in price. And the reason I think the price of Galaxy Fight Club has gone down below the IDO price is because heroes that were earning tokens, those were being unlocked liquidity was receding because we entered a bear market, and the play to earn feature hasn't gone live yet. There's no deflationary mechanics in the game, so virtually no use case for the token. And you do have seed investors, early stage investors that are going to start seeing their tokens unlock. So as these tokens get unlocked, I'm assuming that many of these individuals will be selling some of their tokens to de-risk and get at least their initial capital back. Now, even though the IDO price was public and it was at 50 cents, unfortunately, I wasn't able to get information on how much the early investors paid. So if anybody has information on that, make sure you guys mention that in the comment section below. Now, even though I don't have information on how much the early investors paid, we do know that the following investors participated in the seed round. We have Animoca Brands, Sequoia, YGG, Spartan Group, and some other notable investors that were involved in the seed round. It looks like it took place on February 2nd of 2022, and they raised $7 million. Now, another reason I wanted to mention this is because since we're in a bear market, we want to make sure these projects are sufficiently funded. They have strong balance sheets, because the development of these games isn't cheap. It takes a while. And given how many GameFi projects are building out there, the space is hyper competitive. And so for those reasons, I think it's a very healthy sign that they were able to secure funding, because in my views increases the odds of the team delivering on their end, at least producing a product. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be successful or they'll find a market fit, but at least they have a fighting chance at delivering a quality GameFi project and experience. Now, in terms of the tokenomics, 40% is reserved for game issuance. I wish that number was a little bit larger. I think the team allocation is a little bit high, but overall, I think the allocation doesn't look too bad here. Now, the 40% that they're allocating to game issuance, they're going to be given out to NFT holders based on the Genesis character rarity. So if you have a fighter that's a basic, you'll be getting 5 G coin daily. You have an epic, you'll be getting 8. If you have an exotic galaxy fighter, you'll be getting 15 G coin daily. In an effort to make sure that the lion's share doesn't hit the market right away, there is a vest period for these tokens. So for the first 3 months, you have a 6% vest per month. Now after that, you have a 3% vest per month. Now, part of the way they achieve a deflationary model is through the play to earn mechanics. Let's say after a battle, a player earns loot box keys. These can be sold on the secondary market for profits, or let's say they want to go ahead and open the loot box because the items in there they can sell for even more. Well, they're gonna need to spend some G coins, plus they're gonna have to use a key. Or let's say there's a shortage of second generation fighters, and right now it's super lucrative to go ahead and train them. In that case, they're gonna have to use G coins to forge weapons and also to train those second generation fighters, which they can later sell on the secondary marketplace. We've already covered this flywheel, but just to go ahead and revisit it, I'm guessing through marketing and other growth initiatives, they're going to bootstrap the game with some players. These players will go ahead and form a community, which will produce network effects. These players will purchase in-game items and cosmetics. In order to level up, they'll need to go ahead and use the G-Coin token. And because of the game's deflationary mechanics, the G token price goes up as there's demand for the token. And as the price of the token goes up, the earning potential increases, which encourages more players to enter the ecosystem or the game. And typically that's what you see with network effects. People who enter the game early make really good profits. They broadcast that to family, friends, and colleagues, which encourages them to go ahead and jump in and play. And if that happens, you've seen the flywheel successfully get kicked off. Now, these are all the ways you can earn by playing the game. You have team tournaments. We've talked about forging weapons and selling them on the secondary market. We've talked about training second gen fighters. I spoke about renting out fighters earlier in the video. You can also sell your keys. And lastly, you can actually stake your coins and earn even more G coins. And that actually brings me to the next segment of the video. They've actually adopted Illuvium's model. So they've actually allocated 4% of their token supply to staking and liquidity provision rewards. They allocated 25% of the liquidity rewards to the single site pool, but the lion's share is going to the liquidity pool that has ETH and GFC. So if you provide liquidity in the form of ETH and GFC, you'll be eligible for, again, 75% of the liquidity mining rewards. Now, when you're staking these tokens, tokens, you can choose from a certain lockup period ranging from 0, flexible, or 12 months locked. The longer you stake your tokens, the higher your respective share of the pool is going to be. So the way it works is, let's say you don't want to lock up your tokens, you're going to be given a weight of 1. If you decide to lock them up for 6 months, you're going to get a weight of 1.5. So basically, the longer you lock your rewards, the higher your weighting bonus is going to be. And to see this in action, let's say you decided to go ahead and lock your rewards and you want to go ahead and lock them for the entire year. Well, your yield on the single staking side, given the current price of 15 cents, is going to be 48%. But if you go ahead and decide that you want to stake for, let's say, half the time, then your yield's going to go down to 36%. And let's say you decide to go with the flexible option, well, your yield is going to be the lowest at 24%. But regardless of which method you use, the staking rewards are going to enter a 12-month vesting period after you claim them. And even though they're starting off with a 4% allocation to staking rewards and liquidity provision rewards, I suspect that could potentially change. Let's say the ecosystem or the game becomes really popular, and despite the successful application of deflationary tokenomics, still looking to add additional utility to the token. So what they could do is take some of the tokens that are being consumed in-game and redirect them to the single-sided staking rewards. And the added benefit is that there's plenty of people out there that would prefer buying a more liquid asset like a token to get exposure to the game. So those people might find it more lucrative to own the token if the team is successfully able to create a sustainable token value accrual model and couple that with a yield. Now that you guys have a pretty good understanding of the tokenomics, let's cover the many ways you guys can get exposure to the game. Personally, I have a lot of conviction that many of these GameFi projects are going to produce really good returns in the next cycle. But a lot of that relies on the team continuing to build throughout the bear market and delivering a product with solid tokenomics. Now, assuming that Flywheel gets kicked off, the main problem I see with buying the token is the fact that there's a lot of early investors who probably bought the token on the pennies. So they're going to be selling on the entire way up, and I think that's going to be the main resistance that the token sees. But in my mind, if you're looking for the most liquid option, Galaxy Fight Club token is probably the way to go. I mean, the ideal price was 50 cents and it hit a low of around 5 to 6 cents before going up almost 4x and hitting a recent high of 17, 18 cents. And this is before the play to earn mechanics go into effect. Once they're in full effect, we'll get a good sense of whether the flywheel effect is actually working or not. The other option is buying one of the Genesis NFTs. Now, the main drawback with these is that you're not going to be able to get instant liquidity if you need it. Just be cognizant of that as I show you guys the various NFTs you can get exposure to. So this is the main collection, the Genesis NFT collection, which is available on Ethereum. You can come here in OpenSea and buy it. I would recommend heading over to their Discord and clicking those links because there are scams out there. Now, there's only 234 of these NFTs available to purchase in the secondary market. The nice thing about buying the NFT is that aside from getting multiples or potentially getting multiples on your NFT, you're also going to be able to rent these out in the future and make passive income off of them. And these aren't only going to be used to play in the game, these are also going to be used to breed Gen 2s. These are the Gen 2s. They're available on Polygon. The floor is 0.015. Personally, I don't think it's the best idea to buy these because as far as I know, there's no max supply, and the supply, in fact, is probably going to increase as more and more people begin to breed. If anything, there might be some good discounts here given the fact that we're still pretty early into the game, and because there's only 21 available on the market, if there's an acute demand shock, the price could go up many multiples short term, but long term, I think the price is probably going to trend down. Then you have this special collab collection with Illuvium. There's only 2 items to choose from, but the floor price is very low. There's a total of 915 Arlin. There's a total of 1,000 board blasters. And because the price is low, there's a limited supply. Plus it's on Polygon, so you'll save on fees. I decided to pick up one of each. But if you buy this one, you're taking a huge risk, because there's no way of ascertaining how much the demand is going to be for these in the future. Then you have your Genesis keys. There's not too much information out there regarding the keys, so I'm staying away. Moving along, you have your Genesis weapon collection. There's only about 43 items listed, but I do want to warn you that when it comes to the lower tier items, It does seem like there's somebody out there with a bot that auto posts some items up for sale as soon as one of the lower tier items gets bought. So this is a little bit misleading. However, I did go ahead and purchase a few just because overall I think there's probably not that many out there that are going to be posted for sale. The price is relatively low. For individuals playing with an NFT outside the Genesis collection, they actually need a Genesis item in order to qualify for the gold box drops. And when it comes to people that are playing with a non-GFC character, they actually need to be equipped with one of these Genesis weapons in order for them to qualify for a gold key reward. So those are the ways you can go ahead and get exposure to the game. And coming back to the pools, one thing I forgot to mention was that another way to get exposure where you're a little bit more hedged is coming in and providing liquidity to this pool here, because you'll get exposure to ETH. ETH shouldn't go down as much as the Gcoin token if we go ahead and resume this bear market. And on top of that, you're getting a higher yield than the single staking side, so you're earning rewards passively. If in the future the token becomes valuable in a year when you get to unlock that token and your rewards, your realized yield is going to be much higher than whatever is reported here. Now to end the video, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the project. Full disclosure, I did buy a little bit of the token, which I mentioned in my newsletter. Plus, I got exposure to a few of the NFTs. I bought the Genesis character NFT, I bought a few Genesis weapons, and I bought Arlen, which is part of the collaboration collection with Illuvium. Now, I did that with a very small percentage of my portfolio. I'm really waiting to see how the team delivers. So far, out of all the games out there, they're going to be ready to hit the market first. And they have play to earn mechanics that are going to be going live in a few weeks. So I'm really intrigued to see how well they perform in the current bear market. And so my conclusion is really going to focus on these 4 topics. First is tokenomics. I like the fact that the supply is limited. It's not a huge supply. I do think that their deflationary tokenomics have some prospects, but I'm pretty certain at some point they're going to have to be iterated on. What I don't like is the large allocation to the team. Hopefully in the future they decide to use some of the allocation to reinforce the success of the game. For example, they could use the token to boost the liquidity provided to the pools, or they could come up with some community-based initiatives that helps bootstrap a large user base. I do appreciate the vesting period, but the problem is that you're going to have this large overhang where despite decent demand for the token, these VCs, they're going to be dumping it. I suspect what they'll probably do is slowly sell it using bots when market conditions are favorable. Now, in terms of the replay value, I have to be fair to the team. The game is still beta. I played a little bit of it. To be honest with you, it's not really something I would play in its current iteration. I think if it gets better, I may play it on the desktop at some point, but for now it's not something that I would play on a routine basis. So if their aim is to produce a game that's fun, they're going to have to do a lot better than the current iteration of the game that they have out. Now moving along, a lot of games have a problem with accessibility and also distribution. If you're building a game, you have to make sure that non-crypto people can access it. Now the thing that I like is that even if you don't have an NFT, you can still play the game. In fact, the beta version of the game, anybody can download and play today. So on that front, I think they're doing pretty well. I think for most games, it's going to be key for them to be available on both Android and iOS. So in terms of accessibility, I think they for the most part have it down. I think the biggest obstacle for them is going to be distribution. How do you get the game in front of a lot of people? And that's probably going to come through aggressive marketing and also the network effects that we spoke about earlier in the video. But I do feel like that may be a big challenge for them. And lastly, we are in a bear market. And there's also talks about us going into recession. If that happens, that might derail their plans a little bit, because for the flywheel to work, they do need the token price to go up. If the token price doesn't go up, existing investors or investors that bought into the game, this includes early stage VC investors, they're more likely to continue dumping the token. And if that happens, it's going to be difficult for them to deliver on the flywheel effect. And then on top of that, you also have vested tokens that are going to be constantly sold as long as there is a decent amount of liquidity in the pool. Now, what could be a blessing in disguise is that if the price continues to fall, people are going to be able to accumulate the token at very cheap prices. So as investors sell the token at a loss, if the team delivers on their vision, you'll have enough people buying the token at relatively low prices. And since the price is so cheap, you'll be able to pick up a lot of tokens at a very low price, which consequently could result in a supply shock at some point, especially if the in-game mechanics start to work out and more people buy the token in order to, let's say, level up items and then later on sell them on the secondary marketplace. Now that pretty much wraps up this video review. If you've watched the video until this point, definitely check out my Discord channel. I am starting a podcast. We're not only going to reach out to DeFi and NFT projects, we're also looking to have interviews with GameFi projects. And my podcast that I'm hosting with a buddy of mine is going to be done live in my Discord. And on top of that, if you're interested in GameFi and getting alpha, we do have an entire channel in my Discord dedicated to GameFi alpha. Now, in addition to all the free alpha that you can get in the public channels through my newsletter and my YouTube content, I also have exclusive channels in my Discord. So if you value your time and you don't want to go through all the content in all my videos, you can just read through all the alpha that I publish in my private channel. I oftentimes publish my insights in real time. And because I've been networking for the last 5 years in crypto, I'm part of a few different private groups. And oftentimes I'll take alpha that I get from those private groups and post it in my private channels. And on top of that, you also have quality people in my private channels, and they're also sharing alpha and insights with the entire group. If you think you could benefit from something like that, definitely check out my Patreon page, because just for $20 a month, you'll get access to my private Discord channel and much more. Now, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This is CryptoOneStop signing out. I'll talk to you folks next time. Bye.